every plumbing business owner skips the most important steps when starting their business.
I talk to some guys who just skip everything and buy a price book. A price book's not going to do you any good when it comes to hiring guys, marketing, scheduling, or even understanding the true costs of running your business.
There's no shortcuts, no silver bullet. If you want to have a successful plumbing business, you have to.
Jared Williams.
Up.
I win.
Okay. Whatever.
I win. I said it first.
At this point in our podcast career,
Yeah.
I don't even care.
Good, man. I've helped you transcend. You're welcome.
If anybody's helped anybody transcend, I've helped you transcend.
Yeah, I've allowed you to help me transcend, which therefore makes you feel like you're the transcender.
It's really just a play for you. Like you're the bigger person here.
Yeah, no, I'm just the better strategist.
Okay. What's up, man?
Hey, dude.
Dude, today we're going over to the roadmap to success. It's a good roadmap.
It is a good roadmap.
It's actually a checklist. Maybe we can throw it down in the comments or in the description if we can get, what's our editor's name?
Which one?
Who's our guy?
Jamie?
Yeah, maybe we can get Jamie to throw it in the description.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we're going over this. This is, I wrote this to give the guys who are in our coaching program a little more guidance to what are the steps and what are the focuses of the different steps so that you can kind of flow through this in an organized fashion as much as possible.
Do you have a sense that, let's talk about you when you went into business. On the first couple of times, did you have an organized process when you first started out?
No.
So and I get the sense that most guys don't. It's kind of like
no.
You just kind of cobble the thing together.
Kind of cobble the thing together and then you go back and repair it. And there's ways you can do things that are better for certain reasons. And then there's, if you have cash, you have a lot more freedom to do things in different orders. But typically,
sure,
people don't have a bunch of cash.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is designed for. People with little cash or less access to cash. As we go through it, we can talk about even if you have cash, well, then you could skip a few of these or do this step before you do this one, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And sometimes it's about knowing what to spend your cash on. If you have cash, even if you don't have a lot of cash, it's
True.
you have some sort of limited set of resources and you can't get everything at once.
The thing is, whether you have cash or not, you have to protect your cash.
Yeah, true.
Because the second you're out of cash is the second you're out of business.
Yeah, or the second you got to go get a really cool loan.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
I'm not into that.
What do you mean by that specifically?
I can imagine going and getting a loan to grow my business and then having to pay it off when I'm not now that would make sense for me because I've done it once. I know I could put it together really quickly.
Sure.
And if I had cash, I could do it quicker, right? But when I was starting my business before, had somebody given me a loan, I probably just would have wasted it.
Yeah, can you put yourself in that headspace? What would you have gotten back then?
What do you mean?
How would you have wasted that loan money?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably would have wasted it on something.
Yeah.
Or not. I mean, the truth of the matter is I didn't need it.
Sure.
So
can you imagine a scenario where guys would need a loan to start their business?
they shouldn't need a loan. The business is capable of cash flowing itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for other than van payments, right?
What do you mean?
Well, you got to go get a loan to get a van, but
Correct.
You're financing the van. It's not like you're
I see
getting
what
an
you mean by
SBA loan or something like that.
Yeah. You're financing an asset that makes you money.
So then,
it's the only time I'm willing to do that is if there's a van is just a tool at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If there's a tool like a vehicle that I can purchase and I can use it, that allows me to go make more money, right? By buying this thing, I can increase my cash flow. That's the only time I'm willing to take on debt to grow my business. Outside of that, I don't want to take out debt. I don't want to take out debt just to pay myself or just to, get set up.
To pay yourself, what do you mean by that? Like, dude, some guys, like, I just don't understand. Like
if I'd had $0
yeah.
and I was like, I'm going to start a plumbing business. So I quit my job and I go get an SBA loan from the bank, and then I have nothing. And so in order to survive, I have to start paying myself for my SBA loan.
Gotcha.
And everything I purchase goes on my SBA loan. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. Like you could go just get a credit card
Sure.
and pay off your credit card
Sure.
really quickly. I would rather do that. That's going to be way easier than going and getting an SBA loan. Number one.
Yeah. I guess also it's like, maybe there's this misconception or this idea that like, well, I need a bunch of capital to start this business. But the problem is if you don't know how to deploy that capital.
It's a
new
new word.
Dude, it's kind of hard to say capital. You don't know how to deploy it properly. Then it's like it's pretty dang risky.
You're going to waste it. It's super risky. You got to pay it back regardless. If you deploy it wrong, then it's not like you go take out a van loan, you have an asset that you can sell.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
and pay back your loan, or at least a major portion of it, right? You take out an SBA loan, you got nothing backing it, unless you back it with your house or something, which you probably would have to do. And so you falter on your SBA loan, you lose your house. It's not I don't know, it's too risky. I don't see the need for that risk.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that, so why would you do it?
Yeah.
There's no need for it.
Yeah. Okay, let me float this scenario by you.
Yeah.
I'm still working for somebody else.
Okay.
I'm a plumber, and I want to go and start my own company.
Yep.
And what should I do first in the sense of like, should I buy a van and go do side work? Can I run this company out of the back of my Prius? Can I like what do I need here to actually start making money? Maybe at first on the side and eventually transitioning into going out on my own, quitting my job and then doing my own thing.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly what I would do. I would do it on the side. Like I would get side jobs.
Yeah.
I would either use if I had extra income from my job, I would use that income to get set up for business. Right. So there's tons of stuff you can do before you quit your job. You can get your name, you can get your logo, you can get your website, you can get your GMB. Like you can get all this stuff up and rolling. Sure. Right.
How many guys do you think actually do all those things that you just said?
I have no idea. Probably not very many, because we see people who have been in business for 3 years and they don't even have a GMB, right?
Actually, and
or they
also
don't have a website.
And to the name thing,
yeah.
Like I mean, I've been it doesn't take a lot of my day, but I've been letting lots of people into our Facebook group, and I see the business names.
Yeah,
and I don't know, maybe 1 out of 30, 1 out of 40, 1 out of 50 is something that isn't last name plumbing or like they're all just the exact name that we would say, don't pick that name.
No,
that's not the name that you really want.
Correct.
So like, don't underestimate the power of like creating a good brand from the get-go, especially if you're working for somebody else and you have the security, you have the time to think about it.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that's like,
don't rush into it. Use your God-given brain.
Yeah.
Think about it for a minute and go, okay, well, if I quit my job, I lose my income. And this is going to be different for everybody. Obviously, if you're a family man,
sure,
and you lose your job, it's a bigger deal than if you're just a single dude and you're living off $100 a week. Well, then that guy might be able to just quit his job, forget about it, right? Put all of his focus on one thing. But yeah, be smart. Think about it. Okay, if I quit my job, I lose my income. What does that do to my situation? Okay, that would suck. Well, I probably should save up some money.
Yeah.
Or I should probably get enough of this going to where I'm capable of creating enough income as a side hustle to then quit my job and then start to grow this thing. As much as that sucks and that's not the answer that people want to hear, it's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the harder thing to do. Like it'd be really easy to just go quit your job and say, cool, I'm self-employed now. But
yeah, there's a common theme that happens when guys start on their own.
Yeah.
Is they're typically working for themselves because they want to make more money. They a lot of times they don't like working for somebody else for all the reasons that come with that. But then what happens if you don't know what you're doing is you're just working for a worse boss, and that boss is your business.
Yeah.
And before you could turn your phone off and your boss can get a hold of you. You could go on vacations, but now you have a business that
Yeah.
wakes you up in the middle of the night like, hey, bro, so remember how tomorrow you don't have any work? Remember how we got bills due and how nothing's happening?
Yeah.
Like, you can't escape that.
No.
You can't leave.
You got responsibilities.
So when you just rush into,
And at a certain point, like, you can't just turn it off.
no, you can't
You can't be 2 years in and just be like, you know what, I'm tired of this thing. Psht.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Because you likely have commitments and responsibilities and things you can't just turn off.
Yeah. Especially if, at that point you have employees or all these types of things. And then now you're in it for like the long haul. But the point is when you rush into it, like chances are you're rushing out of an emotional reaction. Like, you know what? I'm fed up with work. This thing happened today and I just hate it.
Yeah.
I'm out. I quit and I'm going to start up on my own.
Yep.
And you didn't think about it. You picked a really weak name. You didn't set anything up properly. And
Put your big boy panties on.
yeah.
Stay at work.
Yeah.
Think about what you're doing. Set up the pieces so that you can just. It's like if I were to go. I did this analogy the other day for a guy. It's like if I were my business was a pyramid, right? Mm-hmm. What you want to do is like the layer at the bottom is the biggest layer.
Yeah.
Right. That's all like your foundation.
Sure.
You want to go put all those blocks in place. And it's a lot of blocks, right, that you got to go put in place and then go build the next layer and then the next layer. And the layers get easier to build as you go up because they get smaller and smaller until finally at the top, you're like, ding, right? Yeah. But what a lot of people try to do is they try to build like the center and they build this like tall tower with the pyramid on top. And it's like wobbling and swaying all over the place. And when the wind blows, you constantly have to go like, no, I got to move this thing over.
You're reacting.
Yeah. So what ends up happening, you build this, this thing in the middle, and then you're trying to stack the bricks around it to keep it stable. And it's way harder than if you just build the foundation and just put the pieces on top and build a good business and think about what you're doing and don't do dumb stuff and be smart and use common sense.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then if you don't have any common sense, you can get a checklist like this one.
Yeah. If you don't know anything about...
And that can really it can just keep you hedged in to at least do the things you have to do.
Yeah. If you don't know anything about plumbing business, go learn plumbing business.
And I would say that most guys don't know anything about plumbing business.
No, they're really good plumbers.
Yes.
Terrible business owners.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was a terrible plumber and I'm a terrible business owner. Just kidding.
Oh, boy. That's not that true.
I was the world's greatest plumber.
There we go. That's what
right.
I'm talking about.
No.
Yep.
Dude, most of my guys that work for us, most, not all, if they're listening to this, they know who they are.
Yeah. Ruh-roh.
No, but seriously, like probably all my guys at this point are all better technicians than I ever was. Hands down. Way more talented. It's not my forte.
Seems like your guys, for the most part, are pretty passionate about it too.
They are.
Like, and when you're passionate about something, that means you're almost addicted to it. And so you're gonna be really good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope so. If you're passionate about it and you suck at it, then
something's wrong. You're in the wrong trade.
Yeah, you've sucked at it for a long time. Like I don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah. Well, that's what most people do with their business.
Oh, actually, that's true.
They like suck at it for years and years and years and years. And they're like, and they just keep doing it the same old way and keep sucking at it. And what's funny about that is these guys, they're on the edge of like having ultimate freedom. Ultimate freedom to me comes when if you can build a business that doesn't need you involved in the day-to-day, that makes money for you, and then it doesn't even matter really how much money, but enough money, like there's a certain threshold of money to be comfortable, right? I'm going to say it's around 300,000, 400,000. You can be really comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do a lot of things.
Yeah. If you can make a business that makes 400K that doesn't need you involved and you can live on 150K, like just live well within your means, you have achieved ultimate freedom. It's probably the best thing on the planet. I used to think like my mindset growing up, or well, when I grew up for a long time was I'm going to live as simple as possible so that I don't need to make very much money. And then when I started my business and I found out, wait, you can just go make more money. It's not even that hard. my mindset switched to like, I'll just make more money until there's so much money, there's no way I could spend it all.
Right.
And then it was like, wait, what if I combine those two?
Yeah,
You can make tons of money and live well within your means. And then you have ultimate freedom.
Sure.
It's the best. It's awesome.
Man, dang, I had a thought before we go into that roadmap there. Maybe it'll come back to me.
It's not going
Dang,
to.
that was a good thought, though.
No, it was terrible. You're a really good thinker.
Gosh, man, I wish it was a good one, though. All right, well, go on.
Okay.
Get into it, man.
So this is split up into steps. How many steps are there? I haven't looked at this thing in a while. Ooh, we're at 10.
Holy moly.
This is 13 steps to plumbing business roadmap to success checklist, okay? And it's split up. The steps are organized by focus, okay? So like steps 1 through 4, there's a certain focus. Steps 5 through 7, there's a different focus because your focus starts to shift.
What do you mean by focus?
You'll see. There's things you need to, there's times in your business where you need to focus on certain things, okay? And your original focus will shift into focusing on something else.
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
your business needs other things from you.
Sure. Needs
So-
your attention to be somewhere else.
Yes. So then 9 through 10, it's a little bit of a focus shift. 11 through 12, a little bit of focus shift, right? So steps 1 through 4, and this is intended for somebody who is just getting going. Now, if you already have a plumbing business and you haven't done steps 1 through 4, you need to go back and do steps 1 through 4, okay?
It seems to me that this is harder for the guys to implement who have stuff already.
It is.
And I think there's a couple reasons. One, because there's this feeling of regression when you have to go back to the basics and start to tick off these boxes. Because like I walk guys through this a lot, and like I talk to a lot of different guys who are at different areas.
Yeah.
And there's a difference when I'm talking to somebody who's got like 5 trucks on the road, and I'm like, go back through these things. But it's funny because even those guys will get to like an early step, and they're like, I don't have that. And it's just an interesting mindset that business owner has to have to go, okay, I got to go back and get this.
Yeah.
Where like when you're starting out fresh, it's advantageous because you're just starting out the way you need to start out.
Yep.
And like I would much rather be in that position personally, because then you just like, oh, I do it right from the beginning.
Yep.
Instead of having to sort of piece in these steps in your already built machine.
Yep.
And try to figure out how they work and what you have to do to make them work and all this kind of stuff.
Yep. 100%. Okay. Steps 1 through 4, your focus is getting the basics set up so that you can make money. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's a strong focus on getting consistent cash flow. Like that's your first goal, is to get cash flow that's consistent. And cash flow is different than money in the bank.
Yes, true.
What?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
How many guys in your experience?
No.
Damn it.
What?
Well, that was easy. Continue. No. How many guys in your experience, like they understand that, oh, I started this business to make money?
I think on a surface level, yes, they get it. But on a deeper level, it's like the reason for the business.
Yeah.
There is no other reason for the business. The headaches and the stress and the everything else that comes with the business, whatever other reason you have other than making money, is not going to be worth pushing forward on the business.
Yeah. Like go into that a little bit, because like what other reasons do guys have?
I don't even know. Like,
So but you're talking about like personal reasons, like, well, I want to make money so that I can ... like
no,
that kind of stuff?
that's fine. I'm down with that. But if they're like, well, I want to provide a really good place for my guys to work, that's all fine and dandy.
Yeah.
But that is not reason enough to start a business.
Gotcha.
Right. Or I want to provide a really good service to the community. That's all fine and dandy. That is not a good enough reason to start a business. The underlying sole reason that you have a business needs to be to make more money. That's it. The business has to make money or you will die. It will not be a fun business. You will not enjoy having employees. You will not enjoy providing a service to the community. It will be a chore. The only thing that makes it worth it is the extra money. That's it.
And do you mean like extra money like in your pocket, the business owner, or like profit within the business itself?
Profit within the business, which ultimately goes in your pocket.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of both.
Yeah, totally. But on the business level,
Yeah.
right? It has to make money
Yeah.
or you're going to hate it. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. And it's too risky. If you're going to go into business and it's not going to make money, why? Then why?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like,
Go work somewhere that provides a good service to the community.
yeah.
Or go work somewhere that has that's a really cool place to work.
So if I was like, Jared, I'm starting up my own company because I just hate working for my boss. He sucks. I hate it. I'm starting my own company.
If you were to come to me and say, I don't really need the extra money, so I'm just going to price this so that it's break even because I really want to provide this service to the community, I would tell you, don't do that. Price it to make money.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to suck.
It's almost like price it to make money so that you can afford to benefit the community.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 100%. It's a two-way. It's not a one or the other. It has to be both.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Okay. Consistent cash flow.
Yeah.
Cash flow. A lot of guys, when they first start out, they struggle with the idea of cash flow. Cash flow is money coming in, money going out. Money coming in, money going out. What we're used to when we quit is money coming in and, well, they're probably used to money coming in and going out like in their personal lives.
Yeah.
But what they want to see is money coming in and staying in their bank account, right?
Sure. And just like growing and stacking and all that kind of stuff.
But when you first start your business, what you lack is money coming in. You have all these things you can spend money on.
Sure.
But what you lack is money coming in, okay? Money going out isn't cash flow. That's spending money. Money just coming in isn't cash flow. That's just making money and putting it away in the bank.
Right.
What you need is cash flow, okay? You need this flow of income coming in so that you can then spend it on growing your business so that you can go make more money and have more money coming in, okay? And the amounts of money that flow are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, okay, as you grow your business. But that money that's coming in is going to be money that you use to grow your business, okay? So you need to have a strong focus on creating that flow of cash consistently,
Sure.
okay? Because what happens is, and by consistently, I mean like you have the ability to get work, serve the customer, price your jobs correctly, bill the customer, and get money in your bank account every day, every single day, right? So it just keeps coming, keeps coming, keeps coming. None of this, I got one big job,
Yeah.
right? And I got some cash.
Yeah.
And now it's 3 weeks before my next job or 90 days until I get paid from this. That's not cash flow. That's like ups and downs. We have no idea what's going on, right?
Yeah. That's not really consistent.
No, you need it to be consistent, okay? So that's kind of your goal. So step one is literally just getting started. Pick a name.
Yeah.
We talked about this on our last episode quite a bit. So if you want to learn more about that, go check our last episode out.
What are the highlights of the pick a name?
Highlights are you're just getting started and the name matters so much. So take the time to go watch our last episode, listen to the part about naming your business, and pick a good name from the get-go because it matters a lot.
It's kind of one of those decisions that if you don't have to redo it later, it's going to save you a ton of time, headache, money.
Tons.
Yeah.
Yep. So you get the chance to pick a name, pick a good one.
And again, using your name, plumbing, your name, mechanical, whatever, is not a good name.
Yeah, don't do it.
Because eventually, like everybody else is going to be like, all my customers just want me to do the work.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I know.
I made this mistake. I picked J Rod's Plumbing. That was my nickname, right? And everybody would call and be like, well, I want to talk to J Rod.
Yeah.
And it was like my CSRs, my manager, they couldn't do anything. Their hands were tied.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, well, let me talk to J Rod.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew who owned the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's just Prospector.
Yeah. And then it's like, well,
Nobody even knows who
let me talk
owns
to
it.
your manager. Like, all right, you can talk to the manager because that's proper and how this works. You don't need to talk to the owner.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's funny
Not at all.
because there's the old timers who call and I'll hear Ayla take the call and she's like, can I talk to, it's usually old dudes. Can I talk to J Rod?
Yeah.
And that's like still to this day. And he was like, well, I don't know how to get a hold of him. He's down in Florida, like whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, well, and then they go on with whatever their spiel was. And
That's funny.
yeah.
I like it.
Yep.
Okay. So pick your name, get the proper licensing. Don't start your, don't quit your job until you got the licensing you need.
Yeah, I've talked to guys about that, and they ask me so I don't have the licensing. Like, what should I do? Like, how can I
get it?
Can I? Well, yeah, okay, sure. Because if you don't have the licensing, you probably can't charge as much. Like,
you just can't do business. Every state's different.
Oh, sure, like business licensing.
You
I
need
was
a
thinking
business license.
Yeah,
whatever licensing you need to operate a plumbing business in the state that you're in, you need to go get it.
Yeah,
just go get it, make it happen. Do that before you quit your job because it's going to take a time. Usually takes a couple months for that stuff to go through.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be doing work without it. And then you can do work. You could do side work, cash on the side.
Yeah.
But other than that, don't do it.
Yeah. So if I have to if I'm not a master plumber and I need to be one in my area.
Yeah.
The recommendation is to just wait the time out until I can sit for that test and do it before I really go out on my own.
Yeah. Or you can go, in some states, you can go rent a license. Like in Alaska, you can rent a license. Mm-hmm. You just have to find somebody to rent a license from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is going to be much harder.
Yeah. Ultimately, it sounds like it's one of those things kind of back to what we already talked about. Is wait, put the time in. To get the licensing you need so that you are independent.
Yep.
Because I've talked to business owners who it's there is the business owner guy and then there's the plumber.
Yep.
And then the business owner guy is fronting cash for this guy in his plumbing business.
Yep.
And I'm you got to make sure that this guy is going to be on board for a long time or you have somebody who you can grab their license.
Yep.
Because at some point, if he walks and he's your license holder, then you got to, now you have a business and you have to figure this out.
I'd give the plumber equity in the business.
Yeah.
And I would give him more equity as the business grows. So he'd start small equity, probably zero up front.
Yeah.
But to let me use his license, if he helps me grow to a certain point, then he gets a certain amount of equity in the business.
Gotcha.
And then I would always have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Guy with a license number 2 that I can go to and be like, hey, I'll rent your license.
Yeah.
And I'll give you equity in this business.
Yeah.
But as long as you have equity, you can't pull your license and you're required to maintain it.
That makes me think of something. What about business partners?
I hate business partners. So I hate business partners work if having a business partner is a terrible idea in the beginning.
Sure.
When both of you are relying on the business for cash, right? And both of you have no idea what you're doing. Okay. Because what's going to happen,
lead the blind.
What's going to happen is one of you is going to need more cash than the other guy, or you're not going to have enough cash to go around, and you're going to disagree on the next move forward. Okay. And it's going to cause tension in the relationship. And to be honest with you, when you start out if it's just you and a business owner and you go into business, it's harder because the business has to pay both of you now.
Yeah, now you got two guys. Even if you're out billing, you have to have enough work for you guys to both be out billing.
Yeah, and so right off the bat, enough work for 2 guys.
Yep.
Second,
and don't put those 2 same guys in one truck, right?
You could make it work. You could make it work, but it's just going to be harder.
Yeah.
And then one guy is going to want to work more than the other guy. I did this, right? I started a business with a business partner, and it didn't work out because ultimately, we didn't have the same lives outside of work. Our priorities outside of work weren't the same, and it caused our priorities at work to be completely different, right? I wanted to work the same but make more money. He wanted to work a ton and make more money. He didn't care how much he worked, right? Yeah. He worked every second of the day.
Yeah,
Still does to this day. I'm not down with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to work my whole life away. I want to enjoy the dang thing.
It seems to me it seems to me that business partnerships happen with younger guys.
They do. And they do it because they think, okay, now we're going to have 2 people that can do work and produce revenue.
2 brains.
2 brains are better than one. But when you're relying on this business to produce revenue for you or to make money for your family, having a business partner is a terrible idea. Partnerships work, obviously. There's tons of partnerships around the world, right, that have worked out great, that have been phenomenal partnerships, okay? So they don't not work. I see them work best from my experience and my viewpoint is they're two individuals who already have income from other sources. Okay. And they both have different skill sets, complementing skill sets. And they partner together because they understand, hey, if we partner together and put our skill sets together,
Sure.
we'll be able to create more income for both of us. But if the business doesn't produce any income for a while, nobody cares because they have income from other sources, right?
Yeah.
They agree to like work on this thing and grow it to a certain point. It's not a thing they're relying on to feed their families, right? So it makes it way easier.
Yeah.
And typically their other income sources are other businesses.
Yeah, sure.
And so you have two business-minded people who have complementary skill sets, who've grown probably complementary businesses.
Sure.
They have understanding of business and partnerships and money and finances and how to grow a business. And they usually take money from these other businesses and they put them into this other business. They each equally invest a certain amount of money and time or whatever. Or maybe somebody has money and somebody has time.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And they grow this thing together with a predetermined like set of rules. This is what you're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is how much cash you're going to put in. This is how much cash I'm going to put in. Here's the priorities of the business.
Right.
We're going to grow it to this point before we start taking any, payments from the business.
Right. Yeah. There's
On
arrangements,
on.
there's agreements, there's transparency, and there's
Yeah.
like I would say like a mature trust.
Yeah.
Like again, when I see young business partners,
Yeah.
and I talk to them because like I'll talk to them like, hey, seeing if they want to get in our program or whatever. And they're like, yeah, me and my business partner, we're both working for the same guy and we want to strike out on our own.
Yeah.
And I always caution, I'm just like, make sure you guys are like aligned.
Dude.
Like first off, I would say, I don't recommend you having a partner, but if you really want to go forward with it, you have to make sure that you're aligned.
I think partners just make people feel more comfortable because they're
I
going
get it.
into this thing that they've never done before.
Yeah.
It's super scary.
Yep.
And if you have somebody there with you, it's just nicer.
Yeah,
right?
if you're
I
going
get
into
it.
a dark, scary cave, it's nicer to go in with your buddy than just by yourself. And that's kind of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yep. But once you're in the cave and one of you gets stuck or one of you wants to go left, but the proper way is to go right, there's difficulty, right?
And like when you're starting out, it seems that like that the velocity is important to like maintain like, okay, we're going to keep pushing. Like, I mean,
Here's one exception to this rule.
Okay.
Right? If you went into a cave with another individual who knew the cave like the back of his hand,
sure.
that would be a wise decision.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to partner with somebody who knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
who has a history of being successful,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe they have the funds. That would be an idea to go partner with somebody, right?
I'm going to drop this question here. I don't know if it's exactly relevant to this, but I feel like it is. What about like franchising?
Franchises, I think they're dumb.
How come?
Think about the franchise business model isn't really to make the owner of is it the franchisee or the franchisor?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't know either. I think it's the franchisee, right? The guy who starts the actual business in the place.
Yep.
Okay.
The one who's in the town with the franchise branding and everything.
Yep.
We'll call him the franchisee.
He's the owner, the local business owner, right? And then think about the franchise company. Okay, we'll just use Roto-Rooter. Whoever owns Roto-Rooter, why do they own Roto-Rooter?
Why do they own the franchise?
Yeah,
To make money.
to make money,
Yep.
right? The goal is to make money.
Yep.
So in order to make money, if there's 10 Roto-Rooters out there, they got to suck money from all 10 Roto-Rooters, right? And in return, they provide the Roto-Rooters with things that the individual Roto-Rooters could have provided on their own, but now they don't have to.
Yeah.
What I don't like about that is, number one, as the business owner, you're stuck relying on Roto-Rooter corporate
Yep.
to provide these things.
Yep.
Now, if those things don't work or they suck or whatever, you're still paying for them.
Yep.
And you cannot get out of that. So a lot of times you look at franchise owners, I've talked to a ton of them. We have a few of them in our course, and they're stuck paying for software
Yeah.
and marketing and giving money back to corporate, right? And then they have to take more of their money and spend it on software and marketing that actually works, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's lame.
Yeah, I think the reason why people get into it is because the franchises are really good at pitching like, hey man, look at our successful branches.
Yep.
We can turn you into this. And the reason is because we offer you this support. But I've talked to a lot of these guys too, and the support that's offered, again, isn't about that owner of that local franchise making a ton of cash. It's about them, just doing enough so that the Roto-Rooter can get its cut and make money. Yeah. So like their business model isn't congruent with your business model.
They're trying to sell franchises. That's it.
And they're trying to take payments off
business
their
model.
Yeah.
We'll get you set up just enough to make a little bit of money so we can make some cash. And then they go set up another one.
Yep.
And another one and another one and another one.
Yeah.
I think it was Z Plumbers. I talked to their like head marketing guy. And their largest franchise was doing $3 million a year.
Yeah.
And they were setting up new franchises, and they're trying to set up an owner and a plumber. So they have two guys out plumbing, right? Or they're trying to set up an owner with two plumbers out in the field.
Yeah.
And he called me and he's like, we can't figure out the marketing. We can't get enough marketing to get these things going and really kicking off. I'm like, well, what are you charging? Do you help them with like figure their hourly rates so that they're charging enough?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we're some locations are around $250, some were at like $325. I'm like, you're not charging enough to pay for marketing, right? So there's these, like, imagine that you're a franchisee, and they do this, like guys go buy into franchises because it's just like having a business partner.
Yes, right? It is. But it's like a really cool big business. It's like the guy in the cave with the flashlight who's got the map. That's what you're led to believe.
Correct. And then you get in the cave and you're lost.
Yeah, you realize that the guy's flashlight doesn't have any batteries and the map is in a different language.
This guy is not as qualified as he thought he was, right? So I get it. It's comfortable. But so imagine like being a business owner and you're relying on corporate to help you price yourself, help you with your marketing, and then corporate head marketing guy is calling some guy he saw on YouTube who has a more successful business than all of theirs.
Right.
And he still doesn't want to listen to that guy. Yeah. It's like, okay, I don't want to be involved in that at all.
Yeah.
So there's probably some good franchises, but the fact that all of that stuff is out of your control and you have to pay them whether you make money or not, like you're paying them typically you're paying them out of your gross sales, not your net profit.
Yeah, which sucks.
So if you do $1 million, like, you know how many businesses there are that do $1 million in gross sales and have zero profit?
Tons.
Yeah,
lots.
Even like 1 or 2% profit.
Yeah.
And you have to pay them like, I know of a few, I don't know all of them, but there's a few, they're like 6% of gross goes back to corporate. That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
I would so much rather take that money and reinvest it in my own business
in the way that
than
you
go give it to corporate. And I would much rather have control over my marketing and my logo and my branding so that I'm in control of what works, not putting my faith in something else, right?
Okay, I remembered my thought from earlier, and I think this dovetails into it. Okay, so my sense from the outside looking in, right? From the guy who just talks to plumbers, who's not a plumber myself, doesn't have a business myself. My sense from the outside looking in is the steps required to build a successful plumbing business are not complex.
No.
And I don't want to say, hey guys, like this is easy, but at the same time, it's like, that's not complex.
It's not, it's simple. It's not easy. How about that?
Yeah, that works. It's simple. It's not easy. And so like when it comes to business partners or franchises, I think there's this mystique around how this business works that the franchises and business partners, well, let's say, let's give them the benefit, unknowingly lean into.
Yeah.
We're like, hey man, like we know this is super hard. Don't worry. We've got it all figured out. It's because of this, this, and this. And you're like, yeah, bro, thanks. But from my side of the table, it's like, hey man, like if you understand how to price yourself properly, that solves so many of your problems that you're experiencing right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then from there, it's just about learning the things you don't know.
Yeah.
And then understanding how to acquire those things, be it services of marketing or systems, and then to build your business.
Yeah, even outside of like the franchise model, the plumbers way overcomplicate the business.
Yeah.
It's such a simple, easy business model. people need plumbing services. They go to Google, they look up a plumber, they find you, they call you, you do a good job at serving them, you sell them your membership, and you've got a customer for a long time.
Yeah.
As long as you're priced right and you can provide 5-star work and you have marketing in place to get new customers, you're going to do fine. Now there's some like back end setup for that, but
Sure, of course.
like overall it's not that complicated. It's simple, very, very simple, not easy to do. And the reason it's not easy to do is because most people overcomplicate it.
Yeah, because sometimes... Go ahead.
Some of the, like the Coldplay song where he says, nobody said it was easy, but nobody said it would be this hard.
Yeah.
That's what always comes to mind. It's like, because when you get into the thick of it and you're growing your business, you're like, nobody said it was going to be easy, but this is freaking hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, you look at it and you're like, it's so simple, but yet this is hard to like put in place and keep going and do.
Sure.
Right?
And have, well, because like the analogy that comes to my mind, which might not be perfect, but makes sense in my mind, is like, I can watch a whole tape on how to do certain exercises. Like, hey man, come to my gym. You'll experience what this video will show you. I'm like, damn, that looks pretty easy.
Yeah.
When I get in the gym, it's a whole nother thing where I'm like, wow, this exercise feels weird and these weights aren't right and these lights are bright. And now I'm thinking about all this stuff. You still have to get in there and experience it.
It's sort of unfamiliarity that's hard. Is that a word? Unfamiliarity? Yeah. That's
Close
not
enough.
a word. That's not a word. But
I've said it 100 times, and
it's a
that's
new word
definitely means
today.
it's a word.
That's exactly what it is. It's the being unfamiliar with it and it being uncomfortable that's really hard.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a pairing of it being uncomfortable, and yet there's guys like us who are like, hey man, but it's relatively simple. And then it's like the pushback is like, there's no way it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like there's no way I just got to charge more and know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then like have a system to get customers.
Yeah.
Like it's way more complicated.
No, it's not. Super easy. It is.
Yeah.
There's just like, I guess the hard part is the growing on your end as a person, right? Just becoming more of a business person, like not getting so emotionally attached to things, thinking bigger picture, being patient, learning how to be consistent and disciplined and make small changes and those kinds of things. Like that's the hard part.
That is the hard part.
The actual steps of putting the business together are easy. The rest of that stuff is the hard part.
Yeah, because the rest of the stuff involves you almost understanding the limiting factors within yourself. That's not allowing you to make the changes you need to make.
I'll tell you the hardest part. It's managing people.
Yeah.
That's it. If you're really good at managing people and you want to go start a plumbing business, it's super easy.
Well, yeah, provided you have the frameworks.
Yeah, provided you have the right frameworks, piece of cake.
Yeah, because then, I mean, at the end of the day, like great businesses are built with great people.
100%.
Like that is like, I mean, that is so true.
100%.
And like when you have people in your business, like your goal needs to be your goal needs to hopefully get the best people in the door as you can.
We've had 30 people probably in my business to this day, and we have 13 right now. So if we were trying to build a business off the other 17, the business would suck.
Yeah.
It's the 13 that we have now that make the business good. Same processes, same business, same setup, same pricing, same price book, same software, same email campaigns, same marketing, same logo, same name. The people are what make it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The other 17, the business wouldn't survive. We wouldn't make it. So if you don't have the people, you're screwed. And that's part of like setting up your system. You got to set it up to get the right people in the door.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
You have to build your business to attract the right people.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
And then to some extent, I would also say it's like you also need to be the type of person that other people want to come work for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, right, there's a huge shortage of tradespeople. So these guys can go work wherever they want. If they're any good, they can go get a job anywhere. They can literally just go down the street and go to the next plumbing contractor and say, do you need plumbers? Because I know how to plumb. And the contractor is going to say, heck yeah, I need plumbers. Where have you been? I've been looking for you for years.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, you have to make a business that is a good place to work. You have to provide them with a better offer. Right. Otherwise, they're going to go work somewhere else. So it's part of the deal. That boils down to, I mean, there's so much that goes into that we could talk about that forever. Forever.
We will continue to talk about that forever.
We will. And it's the hardest part. People's the hardest part. Getting people to come work for you is the hardest part. Keeping them happy is the hardest part.
Yeah, knowing when to keep them happy and understanding the line between keeping them happy and not breeding entitlement.
Yeah.
Understanding how to actually lead and mentor people, especially those of like the plumber ilk.
Yep.
Right? Like it's a hard game to learn and to walk.
Yep.
I would say from my experience, it's probably the most rewarding game because, I mean, it's fun seeing people improve within their humanity.
Yeah.
And it's fun participating with them doing that.
I think so.
Yeah. There's a lot of reward that comes from that. Beyond just like, oh, they make me a ton of money. That's part of it.
Correct. Okay. Let's keep on going down this list here.
Yeah, we're almost
we picked a name.
Tick 1.
We've got the proper licensing.
Yeah, okay, cool. We picked a good name.
Get a van and tools. Like, if it was me, I'd go buy a brand new van. Typically you can get a brand new van, put $1,000 down on it. And if you do this before you quit your job, it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to show your pay stubs to the to the bank, and they're going to give you a loan, no problem. Yeah. If you've got a big truck payment, just go trade your truck in or sell your truck and get a van. Like, if you like your truck, swallow your pride and trade it in for a van. The van's going to make you more money than your truck.
I'm glad to hear you say that because that was the advice I gave a guy like a month ago. When he was like, hey man, so I'm about to go out on my own, him and his business partner, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, cool, dude. And he's like, so I got a question. I got this really nice truck I just bought. He was thinking of like using it for the business.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, you should just like, just get a van, like trade it in, sell it. I told him, go sell it on the market, hopefully get your money back or close to, and then go get a van.
Yep.
If you need a grocery hauler for your family, go buy a thing that does that.
Yep.
Not expensive. Like you're trading, like you're living skinny so that you can get to your level of economic, you can get to that goal quicker.
Yeah. It can be scary for guys to go buy a new van. I remember when I bought because I went into business 3 times. The first 2 times I bought old, crappy, beat up Chevy Expresses, and it sucked. And then the third time, instead of spending $5,000 of my hard-earned cash or $10,000 of my hard-earned cash on a van where I had no van payment,
right?
Instead, I went and spent $1,000 on a down payment for a brand new van, and then I paid $1,000 a month on that until a couple of years ago, or last year, right? And it was way better. Like I looked way better. I was better set up to do stuff, so I was more efficient.
You'll be more confident to charge what you need to charge.
Way more confident. Guy shows up in a nice brand new van. You look cool.
Yeah.
Way better.
And even with that, like I want to tack on, like, again, I just talked to a guy yesterday who was like very concerned. Like at the end of our little short conversation, he was like, also, I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy. And I used to be in tons of debt, and I'm not going into debt to build this business. Yeah. And I just kind of let it hang. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Have a good day.
Dude, but the thing is, if you're not going to buy vans, like the only debt I went into was vans.
Yeah.
If you're going to try and buy all your vans cash, it's going to take you a long time to grow your business.
Yeah.
And you can shorten that time frame by buying vehicles. And if you think about it, like you buy a vehicle, it's going to cost you $1,000 a month. But if you're able to get work for the guy that sits in that vehicle, he can bill out $50K a month, no problem.
Yeah.
Or more.
Comes back to the cash flow.
Yeah. So that van really isn't costing you $1,000. It's really making you money.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to think about it. Like
in your personal life, it's a different story.
Sure, yeah, it's your personal life. Don't buy stupid stuff.
Don't go buy brand new vehicles.
Yeah.
Unless you got the cash.
Yeah.
Then go buy brand new vehicles.
Yeah.
But for your business, that thing makes you money, right?
Yeah. It's a tool.
Yeah. And like if you're going to go into business for yourself, like you can make $500K a year by yourself, maybe more. And you could start buying vehicles that way, but you're only like, by the time you pay taxes and you pay yourself and you pay your business expenses and all that stuff, you're going to be able to buy a van after a year.
Right.
Cash. And then all your cash is gone. So then you need to rebuild your cash funds. And then you're going to be able to buy another van and get somebody in it, right? And it's going to be a slow go. It's going to take you 10 years to do what you could do in 1 year if you would just go get a loan on vehicles. So I'd make that trade every day.
Gotcha.
And the vehicle is backed. It's an asset.
Yeah, sure.
Like you go sell it or give it back.
Right.
Like sell it back to the dealership. And maybe you're down 10, 20 grand. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'd make that trade all day.
Gotcha.
Van and tools. Get set up. That way you're able to serve the company, okay?
What about like access to credit? Is that necessary?
Access to credit, I would apply for a credit card. I'd go get another personal credit card. I'd call the whatever credit card you have now. Some people have multiple credit cards already. I think that's weird. I had one credit card. I called them to get my balance raised or my limit raised. I applied for another personal card and I applied for a business card. And the second I got those cards, I called and asked them to raise the limit.
Yeah.
So that way I had credit.
Yeah.
And what the credit does for you is when you go to somebody's house and you give them an estimate, right? And they say yes, now you have credit. You can go buy parts on that. You can get paid at the end of the job. Usually it's a day or two before the money's in your bank account and you can float that on your credit card.
Yeah, sure.
When the money comes in the bank, then you can pay off your credit card. Right. So it creates the cash flow for you in the beginning.
Yeah.
For the few days or weeks. Like if you land a big job your first week and you have $14,000 of materials to buy, well, now you can float it on your credit card.
Sure. Where before
until the end of the job, rather than that money getting sucked out of your bank account.
Yeah.
So I would go get credit cards for that reason right off the bat.
Yeah.
100%. Plus it starts building your business credit.
And
if you get a business card.
And if you get credit cards with like miles or cash back, then you start to get those benefits as well, which like aren't huge, but they're something. They exist there. They add up over time.
Dude, I mean, think about it this way. Each guy can do $500K in revenue. 25% of that is usually materials. So that's $125,000 that you can get 10% cash back on. Like you yourself.
Sure.
So you can get cash back or you can get 125,000 points and go on vacation.
Yep.
Like buy a couple plane tickets for you and your wife.
Or like, and this is what happened at the last place I worked, like when people would be like, hey, I got to go, like somebody, one of my family members is sick in another state or something. I got to do emergency travel. The boss would be like, I got you.
Yeah, let me buy your ticket.
Like I got you first class right now because he had hundreds of thousands of airline miles.
Yep.
So it was a very easy thing to do that was very meaningful.
Yeah.
That you didn't have to pay for.
Yeah, it didn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Cool.
I get irritated. My guys never ask me that stuff.
Oh,
I would totally buy them a ticket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's building this business culture where like, about your guys, so what's going on with them. Cause it's not necessarily them asking, it's you offering because you know them.
Yeah.
And so when you're asking like, how's it going? Like my mom's still sick.
I've never had that opportunity.
Yeah. It's a cool opportunity because then you get to see the look on their face when you're like, I got you. Like, I'll pay for your time away because this is a big deal, and I'll pay for your ticket.
I did send one of my guys down to. We paid for his ticket to he really wanted to go to this construction conference in Vegas. Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah,
that cracks me up. Who goes to a construction conference?
Yeah, well, Jared, you just don't like going to conferences and talking to people.
Okay, so get a van and tools. Okay, we haven't even made it through step one.
So awesome.
If you can afford to go get a good logo, go get a good logo. So if you've got, 10 to 15,000 that you can go invest in really good branding, go do it.
Sure.
Hands down, money well spent.
Yeah.
If you don't have 10 or 15,000 that you can be okay with disappearing, then just go get a logo on 99 Designs. You can get one for anywhere from $200 to $1,500. Yeah. The more you spend, probably the better logo you're going to get, but just go get a logo so that you have something to put somewhere, okay?
Yeah. And chances are you're not a great logo maker.
You are not a great logo maker. And then go look at, go to Kick Charge Creative and go look at their logos. And even if you're not, even if you're just buying something temporary, you can go look at the artwork and look at the colors and think about the colors that are in your area, and then go to 99 Designs and you can kind of direct them to use certain colors. You can direct them to, pick something that isn't super terrible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like a blue and red water drop. That'd be terrible, right? So you can direct them in a way that at least you get something like kind of sort of halfway decent, okay? You'll be much better off that way.
Yeah.
So I would definitely go do that. As soon as you start making money, you need to go hire a bookkeeper.
You mean like if it's Monday and I did a job and made money, I should hire a bookkeeper Monday evening?
Call up a bookkeeper Monday evening and say, hey, I have a business. I just made my first amount of money. I need my books kept. Don't go get QuickBooks or any of that stuff beforehand.
Interesting.
Don't try to do your own books. Just find a bookkeeper that will work by the hour. Okay. Even if you have to change bookkeepers later, just find somebody that charges by the hour. You can usually find a bookkeeper for like $25 to $30 an hour.
Yeah.
And she's going to spend like an hour or two on your books a month. So your bill's going to be like $100 plus QuickBooks that you're going to buy anyway. So maybe it'll be $140 in the beginning. The more work you do, the more guys you hire, the higher the bookkeeper is going to go, right? And you may have to switch to a better bookkeeper eventually. But in the beginning, just find an hourly bookkeeper and get it done.
So I'm a business owner and I have QuickBooks.
Yeah.
And
you're doing your own books. You're wasting your time.
I'm doing my own books, and like, because I hear this a lot where it's like guys are like, yeah, I got QuickBooks, but I don't really know if it's accurate. Like,
and I want accurate books.
And like, so how could QuickBooks not be accurate, or like,
because you don't know how to input the data properly. Even if you have a bookkeeper, here's the thing. They may not enter the data properly.
Yeah.
You still need to go to your bookkeeper. Like, your bookkeeper is going to come back to you and say, hey, what were all these charges for?
Sure.
On your credit card. Like, you have a charge to this company, and this company. What were they for?
Yeah.
And you need to accurately classify those charges for her or him, so that they can put it in the right spot on your P&L.
Yeah.
Is basically what you want. Yeah. So that you can look at your P&L and it makes sense. Okay.
What if guys are like running a ton of expenses through their business, like personal expenses, all that kind of stuff?
Don't do that. Keep them separate.
Do you think that that's why maybe some guys don't get a bookkeeper, because they know they have to go to their bookkeeper and then classify these expenses, and they're gonna be like, "What's that for?" Like, well, that's my truck payment, or like that's my grocery bill.
Just tell her it's your personal truck payment or your personal grocery bill.
She's not gonna get mad at you.
No, she'll classify it as personal expenses, so that on your P&L you'll see personal expenses, right? And then you can have a clear picture of like, oh, I actually spent all this money on my personal expenses. Yeah, that's where all my money went. Right?
Yeah, because I've had conversations where guys are like, well, I was profitable, but I run a bunch of stuff through my business, so I wasn't really profitable. Yeah. But then even that, in that conversation, that guy doesn't really know to what extent he was or wasn't actually profitable.
Has no idea.
Which means his business, he's just...
So in the beginning, what I would recommend is you pay yourself... This gets tough, but you can do one of two things. First of all, you need to talk to your bookkeeper and you need to say, okay, on my P&L, I need to see gross sales, and then I need you to subtract COGS. Every bookkeeper will understand this. And then I want to see gross profit, and then all my overhead, and then net profit. My COGS, I want you to subtract out any parts, plumbing parts or materials or anything.
Real quick, what's COGS? What does that mean?
Cost of goods sold. Subtract out everything. Anything I spend on materials at the parts store or anything like that, I want to subtract out of my gross sales, okay? And then any money that I pay myself, I want as a COG as well.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because right now you're in the field doing stuff.
Yes. And in the beginning, what I would do is I would pay myself 20% of gross sales. So at the end of every week, whatever I sold that week, if I sold 10 grand, I'd pay myself 2. Okay.
Not just waiting till like shakes out at the end of the month. You're like, oh, there's like $1,100 left. Let me get that.
No, I would definitely pay myself regularly. That's going to help you look at your P&L, know if you're healthy, like know if you're charging enough. Okay.
And it's going to know you as a human being. You have money coming in that you can go spend and plan your life. So your wife isn't pissed at you.
Right.
When you're like, oh, I got to do another business draw, I guess, for groceries.
Correct.
Like,
don't do that. So once you're starting to cash flow regularly, then I would just put myself on a regular paycheck. Okay, I pay myself this much every week.
Gotcha.
Right? You could also do hourly, right? You could pay yourself an hourly wage and track your hours just like you would any other employee and pay yourself hourly. And that would need to be up in your COGS, okay?
Yeah, gotcha.
That way you can see your gross profit, you can see all your overhead, and you can see your net. What you want to see is bare minimum 50% gross profit and then 20% net. Now, when you're growing your business, you should always be striving for that gross profit margin. Sometimes your net is going to be less because you're increasing overhead to grow your business, right? You're buying vehicles and things like that.
Sure.
New tools.
Yeah.
You're reinvesting in your business. So sometimes your net's not going to be there.
Yeah, because
that's okay.
Those reinvestments come out of profit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they come out of net profit.
Yeah.
Gross profit should
gross.
always be there. Okay.
Yeah.
The second you are not in the field producing revenue, that's when you move your wages down to overhead underneath gross profit.
You're no longer a cog.
You're no longer a cog. Okay. That'll help you out a ton if you just have it organized that way.
Yeah, and the thing is you can tell your bookkeeper to do that.
Yeah, like you have to.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that. Don't do that yourself.
Yeah, and you can't rely on her to know where to put your labor on your P&L.
Yeah, she doesn't know your business.
She has no clue.
She's a bookkeeper.
She's a bookkeeper. Yep.
Okay. I have a CPA though. Do I still need a bookkeeper?
Yes. The bookkeeper
But they're
keeps
the
your
same
books.
thing.
Sometimes your CPA will keep your books, yeah. Some CPA offices have bookkeepers on staff.
Sure.
To keep books.
So the CPA firm offers a bookkeeping service.
Yes.
And I check both boxes.
Yes. That's totally okay.
Yeah.
It's likely going to cost you more that way.
Sure.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
The cheaper way to do it would be to find an hourly bookkeeper who does your books. At the end of the year, you send everything to your CPA. They do your taxes.
So my CPA helps me a lot. He's almost like a micro CFO, chief financial officer.
Yeah.
It's cool. Is that cool?
No.
How come?
because they don't know your business. Like,
But he's good with numbers.
yeah, so what? You need to be good with numbers, right?
But I'm not.
You need to be the one that knows your numbers. Like my bookkeeper and my CPA, they would always tell me, "Oh, you're doing so good," and I'd be like, "I am." Like I didn't even understand where's my money going.
Yeah.
I didn't know what my numbers were, and if I would have known what my numbers were, and if I were to go back now and look at my numbers from then, I would have been like, "This is terrible. What are you doing?"
Yeah. What do you mean by good?
Your bookkeeper and your CPA don't understand your business.
Sure.
They don't understand plumbing businesses. They have no idea, right? Maybe you can find a bookkeeper who just deals with plumbing businesses and she knows. That'd be a different story, but you still need to take responsibility for your numbers and understand them.
Yeah, don't delegate that task. Don't delegate understanding your numbers to somebody who isn't yourself. Like it's your business.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Your business, you have to know your numbers.
Yeah. What if my wife does part-time bookkeeping for me?
No. Just hire a bookkeeper. It's so cheap. Have your wife do something more valuable for you, right?
Okay.
Like have her go figure out your logo or something like that, or go get a new van or something.
Yeah.
The bookkeeper is so cheap. It's literally the easiest thing to sub out.
And the reality is most guys I talk to, even coming into our program, they don't have bookkeepers.
No, and it needs to be done.
And I think the big thing is there's a misunderstanding of what a bookkeeper does versus what a CPA is.
The amount of just organizing everything you're buying and everything in your books, it will save you probably what the bookkeeper costs on your taxes.
Yeah, sure.
Hands down. Okay.
Okay, let's rewind just real quick because this is another thing that I hear is, Jared, should I do LLC, S Corp?
Who cares? Nobody cares. Technically you should do LLC, right? Yeah. It's usually not any harder to set up than a sole proprietor. But if you already have a sole proprietor, just fine. Just keep going. At some point in time, it makes sense to be LLC taxed as S Corp because what happens when you own an LLC is you get taxed on your income and then the business gets taxed on the business income separately.
Gotcha.
So once the business is making more money than you pay yourself, then you can save some money on taxes because you don't have to pay self-employment tax on the money that the LLC makes if you're taxed as an S Corp. Okay? It's literally just like...
we're not tax guys, by the way.
We're not tax guys, but that's how it works. It's like if you made 100,000 and the business made 10,000, so 110,000 total, and you saved 9% on 10,000, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
If you got better fish to fry the other fish first.
Yeah.
And then go figure that stuff out. Okay?
That doesn't really fall in line with the focus for this first part of this sheet where.
No, if I was going to start, I would just go grab an LLC. It's not hard. You can go to like Rocket Lawyer and get the documents,
or rush filing.
the creation filing.
I've used rush filing a lot. It's
Yeah.
worked really well, really easy.
Super cheap. Get an LLC made. Don't worry about S Corp until you need to. Even if your bookkeeper is telling you, oh, you got to be an S Corp and oh, you should start a corporation, be like, no. They want you to get your vans owned by another company and your revenue producing over here. Just nope, stop. Keep it simple. Get a sole proprietorship or an LLC and then just roll with it.
Yeah.
Until you're making a ton of money. Then just go hire somebody to flip it around for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Way easier.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time on it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Last step in step number 1 is you organize your paperwork. Don't be the guy rolling around with papers all over his dash and you have no idea what's going on.
What paperwork do you need to have in this day and age?
You just, when you go buy stuff, you just save your receipts. So, and then a lot of people will, and I actually don't like this at all. And there's so many people that do this, and I'm going to go on my little rant here.
Nice.
They get a paper receipt.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it'd be so much easier if I didn't have to keep all these paper receipts and organize them. Keeping paper receipts is not that hard. It's actually really easy.
Yeah, but I got to find the right size shoebox.
No, just like go to Office Max or some office supply store and get a little paper organizer that you can put in your van. When you go anywhere, get a receipt and put it in the thing. And then at the end of the day, or at the end of the week even, grab all of your papers and go drop them in a filing cabinet in a folder and just label it what week it was. Do it by month, like April. And for the month of April, just put all your papers in one folder. Donezo.
What do people want to do? Well, how do they want to jazz it up to help themselves?
They want to take pictures of it and keep it organized in an app, basically.
And then like throw the papers away?
And then throw the papers away. They're like, I don't have to keep track of papers, which is fine. But the time you're spending taking pictures of all of your receipts stacks up.
Sure. Well, especially because it's typically like take a picture, put it in the app, put it in the right folder.
Pull up the app, take a picture. It just organizes it by date.
Sometimes you can't see. Sometimes the picture's bad. You got to get the light right.
So then imagine this on scale. I've got 20 guys and I'm like, you guys got to take pictures of all of your receipts.
Yeah, good luck.
And they're like, oh, yeah, number 1, good luck.
You're going to be micromanaging the crap out of that and everybody's going to hate you for it.
Well, I mean, maybe even if it works, but just the amount of time they're spending taking pictures of receipts would piss me off. Just bring it back to the shop.
Yeah.
Throw all your receipts on the chair next to you in your van and bring them back to the shop.
Yeah.
Put them in a folder. Yeah. Done. Easy peasy. That's my favorite. I don't like the apps. I think it takes too much time. Okay. Rant done. Either way, whatever you want to do, just have a way to organize your stuff.
Yeah, don't just like throw it in the back of the van or like random.
No.
Or don't just like not do anything.
Yes, correct. Don't have it be a giant mess either. Yeah. That's no good. Cool. How we doing on time?
Oh, dude, we're doing great on time.
We got lots of time. Step 2. This is my favorite topic, right? Now that you've got like the basics going, you've made a little bit of money, you got a bookkeeper, you have a way to organize your paperwork, you have a van, you have some tools, you got a good name, you got a jankety logo. Perfect.
Or you got a badass logo because
you
saved up some cash before you
had
started.
some cash, right? So step 2 is just pricing.
And we're still in the same focus?
Same focus. Yep. Step 1 through 4 is just cash flow. How do I create more cash flow?
Okay.
Like all of these things are going to create more cash flow for you. Okay. Step 2, pricing. Okay.
We never talk about this.
And the purpose of getting your pricing right is so that when you're out on the jobs doing the work, you can actually make money, have some left over. Then you can take that money and you can invest it in marketing. Okay. That's the whole goal.
Gotcha.
There's 3 foundations to your plumbing business. Number 1 is pricing. You have to be priced right or you will die.
True. Also, you will die a slow, painful death of 30 years of hard work.
Yeah.
It's not even like you'll die like this. You'll die very slowly. Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a good death.
And most people don't even know.
They don't know.
They have no idea that their pricing isn't right.
And they also don't know that their business isn't going to work.
Correct.
Like, And that's the supreme tragedy of, I think, just the trades and the service businesses in general, is that you can do this, you can run this business, this job for 40 years and never receive any benefits.
None.
And also here's the thing, you can think the whole time that this is just what it is.
Yep.
And that's the worst part.
Yep.
And very few people, your customers, your friends, your neighbors are going to say, hey man, if you just raised your prices and actually knew what you were doing, you'd actually make money.
You'd actually make some money and grow a business that's worth something.
Yeah. Only the rare people like Jared in the world would tell somebody like his lawn care guy, like, hey man, if you charge me more money, you'll actually have a real business.
Yeah.
So
did you get the letter?
I did.
Yeah.
Ayla was like, hey, did you see the lawn care guy's letter? And I was like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's out there doing it.
Yeah, it is cool. I like it. Just
is
making
cool.
more money.
Yeah.
So 3 foundations. Pricing is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing is another one. And then just being able to take care of your customers is the other one. Those are the 3 foundations you need in place in that order. In order to, I don't know about that in that order. You need all 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Like if we were looking at a pyramid, the blocks on the bottom of the pyramid are going to be made up of those few things.
Yeah. It's
pricing, marketing, ability to generate 5-star reviews, right?
Yeah.
Create a 5-star experience for your customers.
And like that part you can do, like guys can do that without pricing. But the thing is they just won't make any money with it.
Well, they can't have pricing.
And
they'll be missing a key component of their foundation. And when they try to grow from there without proper pricing in place, they're going to run into the problems that everybody runs into.
Yep.
I can't find good guys. Well, that's because you're not paying them enough.
Yep.
Because you can't afford to. I can't get more customers. I don't have any work. Well, that's because you can't afford marketing because you're not priced right. What are some other ones we hear? I don't have any money. Well, that's because you're not priced right.
I have to work 70 hours a week.
I have to work 70 hours a week because you're not priced right. Right? Most plumbing business problems, they boil back down to pricing.
Yeah, and I think it's tough because, it's tough for a couple of reasons. One, it's almost too simple.
Yeah.
And then there's I couldn't charge more. I'm already getting price pushback.
Yeah. You'll still get price pushback when you raise your rates. You're just not going to get any more than you currently do, right?
Yeah. And you still, we see it in our program all the time where guys come in and they raise their rates and it's scary and they do it.
Holy cow. And then everybody in the group is like, just do it. Trust me. And they do it and they come back and they're like, just got an Australian guy in. What did he say? Something about he gave somebody a bid for a hottie and the bloody bloke took it. I love it.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't double the money.
Yeah.
Just bam. Just by changing your pricing. It's that simple. It's the, if you say that on TikTok, everybody's like, oh yeah, TikTok guy saying make double the money because you charge double. Well, it's true. It works. Yeah. So that's why we say it.
Again, when you're in a market that is drastically undercharging, it's true. It's not like this is a market that is already charging what it needs to charge.
No.
And that you're artificially increasing prices.
Yep.
It's you're just drastically undercharging.
Yep. 100%. So you have to be minimum $400 an hour to make it work. Minimum.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are in the United States. Minimum $400. If you're in Australia, even more.
Okay. Okay. Explain this to me because I don't understand this. In your hourly rate calculator.
Yep.
And you start to add guys and then the prices go down.
Yep.
And I sort of understand that, but if you got 6 guys and you run that calculator and you're like, okay, well, I'm accounting for my overhead as the GM and all my marketing. Yep. Why can't I charge $225 an hour? Because the calculator says I can and still hit margins.
There's what's called the valley of despair. So there's certain points in your business that cost you more to run your business at that point. And what happens is it's when you increase overhead to continue to grow your business. So if you think about it, when you have one office staff, you can only grow your business to a certain point, and the office, the management becomes the bottleneck. You can't add more guys out in the field because you don't have the office management to handle it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
And if you were to try to grow more and stack more people in the field and then bring in office management, it's a disaster. It's a mess.
You're going to sacrifice stuff.
You overload your office and then the whole thing goes to hell.
Yeah, sure.
So there's these points in your business where you have to bring on more overhead, office staff, before you bring on more technicians. Okay. And if you think about it, office staff are non-revenue producing.
Yep.
Technicians are revenue producing. They're the revenue producers in your company. They're the ones who go out and bring money in, right? So if you have office staff, the more revenue producing people you have, the less each person has to produce because they each take a share of the overhead, right? So if you have $1 million, you have $3 million in overhead and you have 3 guys, they each have to bring in $1 million.
Right.
Just to pay the overhead.
They're the things that are actually bringing in money into the company. The only thing
But
that's
if you've
bringing in
got
money.
$3 million in overhead and you have 6 guys, now everybody only has to bring in $500,000, right? To cover the overhead. Those are way exaggerated numbers, but you get the point.
Yep.
So those points where you have to bring in more office staff before you can continue to grow, before you can hire more technicians, those are what's called the valley of despair.
Okay.
Because up until then, you have gained margin by adding technicians, right? But the second you bring in more overhead, you lose a little bit of margin because you still have the same amount of technicians, but you just increased your overhead, right? Like that example. Yep. Let's say we have 3 technicians out in the field and our overhead is 1.5 million. Again, exaggerated numbers for the point. They each would have to bring in 500,000. Let's say we bring in somebody in the office and now our overhead is 3 million. Those same technicians have to do 1 million each in order to cover the overhead.
Yeah, gotcha.
But if we literally couldn't grow the business until we brought that overhead in, we have to price for that point at which we're a little heavy on overhead and we have, the minimum amount of technicians in the field, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
So those points come and they keep growing. That never goes away.
Yeah.
You consistently have from one revenue point to another revenue point. There's always a dip and then you gain it back. And then you have to dip again to gain it back.
Yeah.
And then you have to dip again and then you gain it back. And you don't gain back you gain back percentages, right? Which the more you grow, those percentages equal higher dollar amounts.
Yep.
Just because you're doing higher dollar amounts, right?
More things going out there, more things billing.
Right. So typically in the beginning, it's with 3 trucks, right? So what happens is, typically the owner is out in the field producing revenue up until he gets about 3 trucks out in the field. And at that point, the business becomes complicated enough. And in order to continue to grow, the owner needs to work on the business instead of in it.
Yeah.
And so he needs to step out of the field. Well, that raises overhead because the owner still has to make a paycheck and he's not producing revenue anymore. So that's the most expensive time, in the very beginning of the business. That's your first valley of despair, right there.
Seems like it's doubly more expensive because, the owner was producing revenue and now he's not producing revenue and he's now part of overhead.
Correct.
So it's like a double-edged thing.
Well, not really. He was just a technician before, getting paid as a technician, but he was producing revenue.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Now the overhead went up. You still have the technician out in the field producing revenue.
Because he replaced himself with another technician who might be less efficient, but it's not like this crazy amount. Okay,
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. So you need to price yourself for that expensive point. Number one, you'll get there much quicker because now you have more money to spend on your business.
Right.
But number two, once you get there, you'll still be profitable.
Yeah.
Because what happens is people go out and they're undercharging and they're like, oh, I'm making money. They pull out of the field and they have guys out in the field doing stuff and then the money starts to disappear. And they have to go back out in the field to produce more revenue.
Yep.
And they intuitively know this. Like, if I just go produce revenue, I can produce revenue and we'll make some money.
Especially if they're still busy and maybe they're even being more busy. Yeah. And the owner's like, I'm just going to go back out there and do some work.
Yep. But then he's limited because he doesn't have time to really build his business, right?
Yeah.
So you have to price yourself to be profitable at those points.
Yeah. And I guess it makes sense because, like, once you get past that first valley of despair, like, okay, you pull out, your overhead after that it's going to be like CSRs and stuff like that. But then there's going to be a point where you're going to bring in really expensive overhead. Like you're going to get a GM who's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
And so even though on that calculator, you can like drop the price down for hourly rate, it's going to come back up because you just had to acquire an expensive piece of overhead.
Instead of dropping the hourly rate, what you want to do is say, okay, I have some extra margin. Where can I spend it to grow my business?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So rather than saying, cool, I have extra margin, you need to go, cool, instead of going, cool, I have extra margin, I'm going to lower my prices so my customers get a better deal. You need to say, cool, I need to go invest more in marketing so I can grow this sucker.
Yeah.
I need to go invest in some better tools or some more vans or some training or something to be able to grow this business further, right? That's what you do with the margin. You use it to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because if you lower your prices, you have no margin, you're not going to grow.
Correct.
And then you're just going to, and I guess if you're not growing, you're dying.
And then you're going to get to the next valley of despair. You're just going to have to jack your prices up again.
Yeah, you're going to have to, and if you lowered your prices, you're just going to have to jack it up way more.
Correct.
And then from like the technician standpoint, it gets confusing. If you were through the first price hike to price drop and now you got to go way back up again.
Correct.
The technician's going to be like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Like, do you even know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Like it's like all over the
That
place
makes
around
no
here.
sense to the technicians.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
They have no concept of what's going on the back end.
Yeah.
Zero. They just are like, what's going on? How come we can be 200 one day and now we're 500 the next day?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
Yeah, and they might, depending upon you and your character, they might jump to various conclusions of like, I guess
Correct.
boss just needs a bigger paycheck, or it's all
Correct.
going to the man, or whatever it might be.
Correct. Okay, so you got to get your hourly pricing right. You can go to the description, get our playbook. In there, there's a link to our hourly rate calculator. Get the hourly rate calculator. There's a whole video on it. Get your rate dialed in. If you're under 400, just immediately bump it to 400 minimum, period. End of story. There's no reason to charge any less than that. On top of that, second part of pricing is start charging flat rate. So quit charging by the hour and start giving people flat rate pricing. So give them a full-on estimate and say, don't break it up by labor and materials. Just say, okay, in your mind, say, okay, this job's going to take me this long, times my hourly rate, plus materials, and you have to mark up your materials 100%. And then give the customer the total. Like, if your hourly rate is 400 and you're going to be there for 2 hours, that's 800 in labor. If materials are $1,000, you're going to double them. That's $2,000. The total price is going to be $2,800. So you're going to write on a piece of paper or in your software or whatever, I'm going to do this work. It's going to cost $2,800. Go to the customer and get the approval. Then do the work. Bill them $2,800. No hourly. Don't split it up on your bid.
Right. Don't say our labor is this and then materials is this.
Yeah, you're just asking for problems. Like the fact is that if you go through the hourly rate calculator, you have to be expensive in order to make money as a plumbing business. You have to be $400 or more. And if you show that to a customer, they're going to go, "You're $400 an hour." They don't understand it.
They're going to make a bunch of weird connections.
How much do you make? How much do you pay your plumbers?
Or like, my doctor isn't this, or this lawyer. Like for some reasons, the lawyers are always like, if I charge that, I would be a billionaire by now. And like, well,
they don't understand that you have gas and van payments and workers' comp and plumbers and health insurance and all these costs to running your business. They have no idea. Like if they wanted a fair breakdown would be to take every P&L item and give them a percentage of what they cover on that.
Yeah.
But that would be confusing to the customer. They would have no idea what to do with that information.
Yeah.
Right? They don't understand it.
Meanwhile, all that time spent that you did that, you could probably go get another job.
Yeah. So just save the confusion and just give them a flat price.
Yep.
Use your hourly rate that you get out of the calculator and double your materials and go from there.
Yeah.
And you have to double your materials.
Yeah. Otherwise, your P&L percentages won't work.
Back to the P&L, right? We need to hit minimum 50% gross profit. If you don't double your materials, you'll never get there.
What happens if you don't hit 50% gross profit?
You don't have enough money left over for overhead and net profit, right?
Yeah.
So typical plumbing business, depending on, and these numbers vary depending on like how much install work versus service work you do, but minimum 50%. If you do a bunch of service, you should see that actually be closer to 60 or 70% because your material costs are a much smaller percentage of your overall amount, right? But if you don't mark up your materials 100% markup is 50% profit. If you need to hit 50% gross profit to have a successful plumbing business, which you do,
Right.
then you have to mark them up 100%. Everything. Doesn't matter how expensive the thing is that you're buying.
Sure. Yeah. Because otherwise,
If it's $1,000 water heater, $2,000 water heater, you got to mark it up 100%. You got to double that. Add your labor to it and give the customer a price. Otherwise, at scale, you won't make enough money
yeah.
ever.
Yeah. And you'll be stuck somewhere.
You'll be stuck. It's just how it is. Okay. That's an important one. Guys have a hard time with that.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think it's because there's a lot of plumber brain happening. And then there's a lot of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to charge this especially when they get like a very expensive part.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm going to go like, we're going to do a boiler replacement.
Yeah.
However much that sucker is,
Yeah.
$8,000 or $10,000, like $20,000
Yep.
for the thing.
Yep.
What if they find out?
Yep.
And like, there's a bunch of baggage that goes with that. Like, I wouldn't pay for this, like all the litany of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there's that shift to business owner perspective that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey man, but if we don't do this, we don't have a good business.
Correct.
We can't provide for our employees. We can't do these things that are our mission statements if
Yep.
we don't do this.
Yep.
And then of course there's the fear of like, well, what if they don't take the thing? It's too expensive.
Yeah.
Or they Google the thing and then you have to have this conversation. And
Yep.
I think the biggest defense for that is really knowing your numbers so that you have a conviction that like, no, what I'm doing is proper.
Yeah.
It is correct. It's right.
It
in
is.
the sense of I'm actually demonstrating to the marketplace, this is the value of the service that I'm providing.
Yep.
And if I don't do it this way, I
don't make any money.
I don't benefit from having this business.
And everybody else who's charging less, they're the ones getting screwed over.
Yeah. Whether or not they see it that way.
Yeah.
That's actually what's happening. Because those are the guys who are 65 crawling under houses.
Yep. With nothing.
With nothing.
Worked 40 years with nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Step 3 is the second piece of your foundation, marketing.
Man, real quick, I have to interrupt. We didn't even talk at the beginning
Yeah.
about this is all directed towards residential service specifically.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We didn't even talk about like, because if you take all this and you're like, I'm going to apply this to my new construction business.
Nope.
It's not going to work.
Don't do
or
it.
like my commercial, whatever I got going on.
Don't do it.
So with that caveat, like we're talking 100% residential service.
Correct.
Like if somebody came to your business and was like, hey, Jared, we got a really fancy house. Can you guys do the
I'd
roughing
say,
on our fancy house?
Nope. We don't do new construction.
Yeah, but it's going to be like a couple months of work.
I don't care.
Keep your okay.
I'm not touching it.
Gotcha.
Sorry. Like even if we could charge our residential service prices for new construction, I still wouldn't do it. The cash flow is hard. Dealing with the customers is hard. The scheduling is hard.
It interrupts your whole flow of residential service that you're doing.
There is no flow.
Yeah, sure.
It's constantly like, this guy needs me over here. This, like, everybody needs me at once, and then I get them all taken care of, and now we got nothing to do for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While you're waiting to get paid by something
Yeah.
sometime.
Not into that. No
Yeah.
thanks. It's so hard to systemize and operate.
Yeah.
Like my business, residential service, can just sit there and run.
Yeah.
I don't have to babysit it. I don't have to watch it every day. I don't
Yeah.
have to be involved in it. You can put processes and systems in place to where it can just run. That's the kind of business I want to be in.
Yeah.
Like Charlie Munger, I say this all the time. I watched a video with Alex Hormozy. He's talking about Charlie Munger and how he would often say, too hard. If I'm looking at a plumbing business and you show me new construction, sure, there's tons of money to be made, but it's hard.
Yeah.
When I could go do residential service and it's easy, simple,
Yeah.
and I don't have to be involved.
Yeah, but Jared, talking to people is hard. I don't want to talk to customers.
Dude,
I just like the work.
That's the easy part. Just pretend like they're your friend.
Yeah, but
Piece of cake.
I don't even like talking to my friends. I don't have any friends.
Don't go into business then. You sound like a lame person. You're gonna have a hard time with employees, I can tell you that.
Oh, come on.
Okay. Step 3, marketing. Start getting work so you can put more cash aside to reinvest in the business. That's the purpose of getting your marketing in place. If nobody can find you on the internet, nobody's going to find you on the internet.
Damn. Okay. That's profound.
I know, I'm very profound. But if you're not findable and you're not doing any marketing, you're not going to get any new customers. So you need to go put the marketing piece of your business in place. So what that looks like is hire a marketing company. Okay.
Now, how do I know which one to hire? There's like 10,000. They all do crazy stuff.
There's a checklist on here. What you want your marketing company to do. Okay. So my rule of thumb for a marketing company is, and we'll roll through this checklist real quick too, but my rule of thumb for a marketing company is you own a plumbing business and I'm going to hire a company to market my plumbing business to help get me new customers. This is a very important part of my business. It's one of the foundations of my business after all, right? It's one of 3. There's only 3, and this is one of them. I better do this well. So if I'm going to hire this out, I am going to hire a company that has a history of success with companies just like mine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go find a few of them, and I'm going to sit down and go through their sales pitch and talk to them, and I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions, and I'm going to pick the one that I feel like I can communicate with best.
Sure.
And I'm going to want to know, there's a couple things you're going to want to avoid when you hire a marketing company. Number 1, you want to own all your stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't want, some marketing companies will build your website, get your GMB going, get your GLSA ads going, but they actually own all those assets. Even your Facebook and Instagram, which is crazy to me.
What do you mean? Like they own your logins or something? Or?
They'll own those assets.
Yeah, they're the...
And so when you go to leave that marketing company, you have to start over from scratch.
Sure.
Now, the goal would be to pick a marketing company that you don't have to leave. They just do a great job and you don't have to leave. But the reality is that sometimes you'll pick a company and it just won't be working out and you're going to have to go switch marketing companies. So when you leave, you want to know that they're going to help you transition to the new company.
Yeah.
Okay. So super important. I own all the assets. They're going to help me transition.
Yeah.
If I have to leave. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good question to ask a marketing agency.
Just ask them. What's your offboarding process?
Yeah.
What does it look like if I have to switch marketing companies? Do you guys help the transition? Do you guys transfer the website over? Do I have ownership of all this stuff or do you guys keep it?
Right.
If they keep it, I'm gone. Not touching them. Because if they start to suck, then they own all my stuff and I'm screwed.
And you have to restart real hard with another company.
Yeah. And that sucks. Not doing that. And then I'm going to pick the one that I can communicate with the best, right? So they have a history of being successful. I can communicate with them well. They're probably going to cost you some money, which is fine because they're going to make you money.
And you understand how to price your service.
And you understand how to price your service. You're going to include your marketing budget in your hourly rate calculator. Okay. That's going to make sure that you're charging enough to be able to afford your marketing. That's how I'm going to pick my marketing company. Okay. History of success, good communication. They have an offboarding process. I own my assets. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And I want a company that is going to handle as much of the stuff as possible because a lot of this marketing stuff is intertwined.
Yeah.
And if you have a bunch of different contractors working on individual things, your stuff doesn't get intertwined. And if you want it intertwined, it's on you, the business owner, to make sure it's intertwined.
Yeah.
And you're busy and you don't understand this stuff. So you need to hire a company that will handle as much as possible. Okay. So within that, we'll just roll through this real quick. You need a website. You want pay-per-click campaigns, Google local service ads. You want them to handle your GMB, getting it all optimized, doing the updates, putting the products on there, making sure there's good photos on there, setting your hours, all that good stuff. You want them to set up your social media profiles and at least be posting on there 3 times a week, as long as with your GMB as well.
Yep.
So you want to make sure you're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, GMB. You want them to handle your listing management. So it's like going out and making sure you're listed on all the places you can be listed. You want them to handle your SEO. Everybody says SEO is dead, but it is not. If they can handle some of your email campaigns, that'd be great. And then from there, you yourself, you're going to need to focus on doing guerrilla marketing until your marketing company kicks off and it starts producing enough jobs to where you don't have to do that anymore. Okay. When you go hire a marketing company, it's going to take 60 to 90 days before they have everything put in place. They have to go put an incredible amount of work into getting your marketing up and rolling, and it takes time. And they have to optimize your campaigns. It takes time, right? So you need to be willing to work with them. Be patient. The key to successful marketing is spending enough money over a long enough period of time consistently.
Yeah.
And it will pay off.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. Dude, we made it through 3 steps.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty good.
Let's get through step 4 because that's a good stopping point, and then we'll do episode 2, and we'll dig into step 5 through 7 and the rest of them.
Yeah, because that's a different focus anyways.
It is a different focus. Okay. Step 4, you really need to, so now you have marketing in place. You're doing some guerrilla marketing, like getting on Facebook, posting in local groups, whatever you can do, get involved in B&I groups, Chamber of Commerce, all that stuff, right? Just networking, getting out there, letting people know you own a business, okay? Step 4, scheduling, CSR. You're getting consistent call volume. You need to start scheduling in 2-hour time chunks. So 8 to 10, 10 to noon, noon to 2, 2 to 4, whatever. Throw a lunch break in there if you want. Start earlier or later, I don't care. Have 5 time slots, I don't care. Whatever. Just schedule in 2-hour time slots. And tell the customer, hey, I'll be there between 8 and 10, and I'll text you when I'm on my way.
Right.
That's how you want to book your schedule. If it goes over, just let the next customer know, hey, I'm running a little behind. I'll probably be there between, 11 and 1.
Customer communication is huge.
Communicate with your customers, huge. It's part of providing a good experience for your customers, okay?
When should you hire somebody else to do all that for you? When should you hire CSR?
It's on here. Hire customer service rep / CSR when you're booking 1 to 2 jobs every single day. You're getting enough call volume at that point where the phone and the call volume are pulling you away from producing revenue, and you can hire that out for pretty cheap and get somebody else to do that for you, and they'll be better at it, and it'll provide a better experience for your customers. And then you can produce more revenue because of it, okay? And you can have that CSR do all of the following: answer the phones, book the jobs, handle the scheduling. They can handle social media messages and comments. They can manage your GLSA. They can manage your company email. They can communicate with customers, so they can schedule, reschedule, collect payment. They can call the customer and let them know you're running late.
That's so many things.
Takes a ton of stuff off of your plate.
Yeah, those are just little admin, little busy work things that are literally keeping you from making money.
Yep. And if you're priced right and you're doing 1 to 2 jobs a day, you should be making $40,000 to $60,000 a month on your own with relatively low overhead at this point, and you should have no problem bringing that person in.
Right.
Okay. And they should actually help you produce more revenue.
Yep.
Okay. And at that point in time, you're going to try to become the best technician that you can be.
Yeah.
And you're going to figure out, okay, how do I become the best technician? What is it that I stock in my van to be the best technician? What's the systems and processes that I use to make sales? How do I communicate with my customers? Right. That way, when you start hiring guys, you can teach that to them.
Yeah.
And you can train them on what it is that you do and how you stock your van. You can create a list based on your van of, this is what I stock in my van.
Right.
This is what you're going to stock in your van. Right. And that should be your focus at that point in time before you move on to step 5 and 7. Cool, man.
Man, cool.
We'll do episode number 2 next. We'll go over the next few focuses on what you need to do. It gets fun from here.
Dude, it's been fun so far.
Cool, man.
All right. Thanks, Jared.
Later, Holmes.
See ya.